Today on Sports Central, we go over 5 reasons why the Ohio State Buckeyes are going to knock off Alabama and win the 2021 College Football Playoff National Championship. And this is a team over the course of the season that has been very dominant, especially in the Big Ten portion of the year. And Ohio State overall was very questioned when they got into the College Football Playoff as only a 6-win team, but they definitely held their place when they beat up Clemson huge in the Sugar Bowl. And Ohio State is definitely a team that I think could beat Alabama here. And we're going to be going over 5 reasons why that's going to happen. These reasons will be in no particular order. And that being so, we're going to start off with your number 1 reason, which is going to be Justin Fields, quarterback. He definitely had his best game of his career against Clemson in the Sugar Bowl. I mean, this Ohio State team was on fire, and you could definitely tell that they were very motivated in that matchup because, I mean, especially in comparison to any other performance that any other team in college football has had all season, I'd probably say Ohio State had the most dominant performance out of any team this entire college football season. So, Ohio State played really an excellent game against Clemson. And of course, if Justin Fields plays the way that he did against Clemson in this matchup, this team genuinely does have a chance. And many of you guys are going to say in the comments, so Ohio State, they don't even compare up to Alabama, but I genuinely do think Ohio State can get a win here. Like, there's a good chance that they win the championship because of how this team played against Clemson. I mean, this Ohio State team really showed their upside and where they can be at against Clemson. Like, once again, if they could just play the same way or even better, I think Ohio State could easily get a win here. But, I mean, they've also got, or Justin Fields has got Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson to work with, 2 of the best receivers in the Big Ten and 2 of the best receivers in college football right now, especially Chris Olave. I mean, Chris Olave is going to probably be a very early round draft pick, possibly even a first round draft pick in the 2021 draft. So you got to watch out for that as well. 2020 stats for Justin Fields: 1,900 yards, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, which those stats may seem kind of low considering we're at the end of the season, but I mean, really through 7 games, those are stellar stats really for Justin Fields. I mean, that's like 2,000 yards through a halfway point of a season. So for Justin Fields, he's had a great season overall, especially considering the strong strength of the schedule he has had. Number 2 is going to be rush defense on the Ohio State side. The rush defense is easily one of the best in the nation on the Buckeyes side. I mean, if you look at how they've only allowed 96 average rush yards per game, that is an outstanding stat line there. And the defensive line especially is going to have players in the NFL. I mean, we're going to see a lot of players on this defense in the NFL in the future, but I definitely think, especially on the defensive line, Ohio State is always great on the defensive line, but especially this season, I mean, this is a rush defense that's going to be really tough to beat, and it's going to be tough for Najee Harris to be able to run on this Ohio State rush defense, considering, once again, I mean, through some tough games, they've only allowed 96 average rush yards per game. So you got to consider that as well. Ohio State is looking very good on the rush defense. Number 3 is going to be the receiving core for Ohio State. And we already kind of went over this. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are leading this receiving core. Both receivers are over 600 yards. Both receivers also have combined for over 1,300 yards through 7 games. So both wide receivers are outstanding this season, and both receivers also have got huge upside. I mean, if you look at both of these players here, like, Chris Olave is great, but you also got Garrett Wilson. Like, you can't forget about Garrett Wilson as well as Chris Olave. I mean, you got Garrett Wilson who's already put up 700 yards on the season with 5 touchdowns. So really, both these receivers have had major impacts on this team this season, and especially Chris Olave, who's once again got huge upside moving forward. I definitely think he's got potential to be a great player in the NFL in the future, definitely a standout one as we move forward. But yeah, Ohio State has got a great receiving core. And I mean, it's not just these 2 receivers, they also got a couple others, but yeah, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are both highlighting this receiving core, and both receivers are extremely talented. Number 4 is going to be TREY SERMON, running back for Ohio State. He had a huge game. He had a huge game against Clemson, and he's been a huge impact player for this offense down the stretch. I mean, if you look at his stats at the beginning of the season, TREY SERMON really did not have that big of an impact on this team. This team was mainly a passing team, but as we've gotten down into the later parts of the season, he has really put up some insane stats. He's improved drastically over the course of the season, and he's put up probably the best season of his career, I would say. I mean, the defensive line has been a huge part of the success as well. I mean, the defensive line has been very improved for Ohio State this season, and that's a huge part of why TREY SERMON has been successful. But if you look at his 2020 stats, I mean, they don't look good right now. I mean, those are average stats, I guess you could say, for a 2020 season. But really, TREY SERMON, I mean, if you look at him down the stretch, he's improved a ton, and he's playing as good as he ever has, whether it was at Oklahoma or in Ohio State. This is the best he's ever played. He's put up 960 yards of rushing along with 4 touchdowns on the season. So once again, not terrible stats, but he's definitely improved. Like, if you look at his game-by-game stats, like, he has improved a ton over the course of the season. And yeah, his yardage is absolutely insane for that matter as well. Lastly, number 5 is going to be Ryan Day, head coach. And the way that this team was prepared for the Clemson game, I mean, you can't help but think that Ryan Day is one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in college football right now. I mean, you got Nick Saban, of course, but Ryan Day is probably a close second right now. I mean, this team was extremely prepared. They were extremely dominant in the win against Clemson, and you can tell that this team was ready to go. So, and that's a big part on Ryan Day's part. I mean, Ryan Day had a huge part in the success of Ohio State over the course of the season. There's no doubt about that. And if you look at how well he's performed and how well or how many wins he's got as head coach, he's got a 23-1 overall record as head coach of the Buckeyes, which is outstanding. I mean, 23-1. That is one loss over a course of 3 seasons of head coaching. And of course, he's been head coach for 2 seasons, but of course he was interim head coach back a couple of years ago. But he's 23-1 overall. Yeah, Ryan Day is a great coach. He's an excellent coach, and I definitely think that he is capable of leading Ohio State to a national championship here next Monday night. And the only loss he coached was against Clemson in 2019. So really, I mean, he hasn't ever taken a bad loss. And really, once again, the only loss he's ever coached was against an excellent Clemson team in 2019. He beat Clemson this season. So if you look at him, he outcoached Dabo Swinney for sure in the Sugar Bowl. I mean, Dabo Swinney is a great coach. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Clemson's been so successful over the past few years, and Dabo Swinney's been a big part of that. But Ryan Day outcoached Dabo Swinney in the Sugar Bowl. I mean, there's no way. Like, Ohio State was extremely dominant, and they led Clemson by a huge amount for the majority of that game. Ryan Day for sure outcoached Dabo Swinney, and that's going to be huge coming into this national championship game. But that being said, that was my 5 reasons why Ohio State's going to beat Alabama. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game. If you enjoyed this video, slap a like on it, subscribe as well if you enjoyed it, as it really helps the channel. I really appreciate that. But once again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I will see you all later.